Thank you for chipping in for more Cyberpunk Red and 2077 lore. Regardless of if you are the toughest solo or even a full Borg, one way or another, you need sustenance. In the time of the Red, this was no easy task. During the 20th century, large sections of the US economy were driven by food-related industries. It was a time of plenty for all. Statistics imply almost 20% of the adult population could be categorized as obese. Food scarcity was not an issue. However, since the collapse, America lost its capacity to feed itself. The food industry essentially was crippled and, in many respects, evolved into the fuel industry. It was no longer about producing palatable food to satiate one's culinary desires, but manufactured nourishment that kept you alive. The products vary in quality and quantity, but they are all known by the simple appellation, kibble. By far the simplest of the foods you will find in Night City, kibble was originally designed by Purina Foods for the South American relief effort. It has a dry and grainy consistency similar to the animal foods that enrich the profits of the Purina company. Kibble provides a full day's supply of all the essential vitamin and mineral compounds, along with a minimal amount of complete proteins containing the 9 amino acids necessary in the human diet. In other words, it's the equivalent of dog food. Other products include tailored proteins, generically referred to as SCOP. These single-cell organic proteins are tailored to fit into almost any food niche. There is a hamburger and pineapple pizza SCOP, for instance. It can and does look like any other food product. Soya has also been genetically tailored to fit into any of the thousands of vegetable protein foods currently available. You may be wondering, what happened to normal foods such as fruit, vegetables, and meat? Fresh food and alcohol are still available to the elite of Night City, such as the multi-millionaire corpos. Fresh food became scarce as virulent bioplagues and massive burials of the collapse ruined almost all the natural groundwater in the continental United States. Fresh foods that are produced and consumed by Americans are usually grown in sealed hydroponic gardens to eliminate the chance of contamination. Most of the fresh food consumed is imported. Parts of Europe, Canada, and the old Soviet republics became the new breadbaskets of the world. However, things were to become even worse during the time of the Red. Quite simply, convenience stores with a consistent supply of food and other groceries were no longer viable. In their place came the night markets. These markets sprung up randomly in Night City and were largely dependent upon whether a good shipment happened to come through or the nomads serendipitously came across something of value. Access to these night markets were not available to just anyone. One often needed the right connections as well as the eddies to get a piece of the action. Following the devastation Night City's infrastructure and pollution caused by the Fourth Corporate War, the dependence upon synthetic foods such as kibble became even greater. For those with more eddies to spend, pre-pack became a more attractive option. Pre-pack are meals that can be microwaved or self-heated for consumption. While still largely composed of kelp, plankton, and soy proteins like kibble, pre-pack is usually flavored more effectively and often contains real meat or veggies inside. In case the thought of pre-packs makes your mouth water, in the wise words of Lieutenant Lenina Huxley from The Demolition Man, just don't ask where the meat comes from, samurai.
Just don't ask where the meat comes from.
Huxley, what's that supposed to mean?
Do you see any cows around here, Detective?
As many faced the prospect of starvation right after the war, they developed a penchant for gardening, or to be more precise, guerrilla gardening. For those not well versed with the horticultural lexicon, guerrilla gardening refers to the act of gardening on land that individuals do not have the legal rights to cultivate. This was quite a surprising move, as it potentially adds welcome greenery to the Night City of 2077. Edgerunners began setting up gardens wherever possible in Night City. There was still the issue of radioactivity and toxic waste traces, but many were not exactly able to complain. Naturally, these resources gathered the attention of those who were not interested in growing food for themselves, such as the various gangs, and thus mini-wars began. The body count rose. You might be wondering what happens with the bodies. Let's just say the fertilizer for guerrilla gardens needs to come from somewhere. During the time of the Red, as the nomad convoys aided Night City, small animals such as chickens, goats, and dwarf pigs began being introduced. It also afforded new business business opportunities as gardeners hired solos to protect their animals, as they are considered a luxury delicacy. Such food was normally available to the power dealers of Night City. The CEOs of the corporations are world-famous media personalities and those that pull the strings behind international politics. While guerrilla gardening produce is not on the same level as beef grown on ranches, guaranteed to be toxic-free, or the fruits and vegetables from hydroponic gardens and South American farms, it still offers a glimmer of culinary hope for many of those in Night City. The artwork featured on the thumbnail is by Eddie Mendoza and is from the Cyberpunk Red Jumpstart Kit. Hey Samurai, are you interested in more Cyberpunk 2077 content? Then be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you for chipping in.